they're definitely finding their groove inside of this meta. But the question is it the same story for the Rejects? How have they looked? Because when we first came here for one of the first NA tournaments, we talked about the Rejects, and it's like, this seems like it is a pretty good meta for them. One of the hardest things is going to be the fact that Rubcub can't play his main healing specialization, but you look at the strength of some of the other things that they do have, and you go, they have quite a few of the pieces. Zico, now with the current meta and what the Rejects do have, how do you feel that they do currently sit?
It's really hard to call the Rejects, honestly. I think that their main strength has always been that Fire Mage, Rogue, Holy Paladin. They have a good showing so far this week. They are the team that knocked down the Boys, which is the team that won the last cup, of course, down to that lower bracket. So the Rejects, they are good, and they're very good individually, but I feel like they are missing something. They don't have that extra comp or extra, like, I don't know.
The extra spice they need.
The pizzazz. They're missing the pizzazz.
They're missing the pizzazz.
The extra oomph.
I was gonna say oomph, but I didn't want to get. Yeah, you know how Sid likes to. You need the right person on your team to get that boom, right, Sid? So that might not be something that they do actually have right now. And the question is when you're looking at intangible things like that, you can't really just say, oh, let's wargame until we find it, right? It's a lot more tricky than that. Method Orange, though, Sid, this team has nothing but momentum right now.
Yep, they're just coming off of a great performance in the last cup. That's definitely a return to power for Method Orange, finding compositions that finally work for them here in the current meta. It seemed like they were a bit lost when that balanced Druid, Demon Hunter, and Healer composition didn't work for them, but now back with powerhouse teams, with Trill on that Demon Hunter once again, Mez on that Death Knight, and of course Sea-Doo backing them up. I am curious to see what healers they bring in terms of the competition. Sea-Doo really focused on Shaman throughout the last cup, but I think it's of utmost importance to diversify onto that Druid, and I'm wondering if he has it prepared here today.
Yes, Sea-Doo is something that we've definitely seen quite a bit in the past, but I feel like we even heard Sea-Doo already saying, whether it's on his stream or on Twitter, saying that this meta all of a sudden is one where they are comfortable. It is something where they can thrive, and we may see that come out here in the blind pick. 83% of you thinking that Method Orange will be able to take it here based off of the momentum, based off of the results that they've been able to post in the past. And I think you take it a step further and you do say their first week almost seems to be scrubbed clean. It does seem almost like a fluke, maybe coming off of that victory at BlizzCon, but the Rejects are going to be very tough competition. And we're going to see Sea-Doo staying on the Shaman. It's Rubcub who is going to flex and bring out that Druid. Let's see who's able to take the first game of our series.
Yeah, it's very important to be able to expand your branches onto the Druid healer in this particular meta, as they are one of the strongest healers in general and can extend matches for quite some time. The Rejects, though, have stolen this composition from Europe's meta, although they were playing Windwalker Mage. Not necessarily, do I think, at the same caliber of the European teams that we saw with Maro and Blizzo. So let's see if North America can step up to the plate here in game number 1.
Yep, Seth Curry is actually playing the same build we saw from Zach earlier on in the day, where he's playing Tiger Eye Brew with the Serenity. So that makes me think they want to try to one-shot Mez. If Anti-Magic Shell isn't available for Mez, Seth Curry is going to be able to do a tremendous amount of damage. So we'll have to look out for those one-shots during the game if the Rejects can set it up properly. Sea-Doo getting interrupted. And we kind of talked about it earlier. Method Orange, they have to be feeling very comfortable with this particular meta. When you think about them, you think about these cleave setups like the Death Knight, Demon Hunter, or adding in a Windwalker Monk, or double Demon Hunter with the Resto Shaman, and they're very comfortable with these compositions, and that's what happens to be exceptionally good right now. So Method Orange definitely in a good spot for success, but the Rejects, maybe with this composition, have found the answer to these cleave setups.
We do see Trill pressuring Rubcub with that Mana Rift, looking to make sure that he casts it right after a stun to diminish the mana regeneration of Rubcub, and Trill has been playing with that Mana Rift for probably the better part of a year at this point, so he's definitely the master of making sure that he nails as many of them as possible and as frequently as he can. Another one secured onto Rubcub, and every single Mana Rift is just creating more of an advantage for Method Orange in this fight. Jamili doing his best to avoid Mez on that Arcane Mage, and as we pointed out, trying to attack the Arcane Mage is actually enabling the Arcane Mage a lot more power than it would normally have. Mez now switching his attention to Seth Curry instead, realizing giving chase Chase to the Arcane Mage may not be a worthwhile experience. Actually sending the Raise Abomination after Rubcub to support Trill. Seems to be Abomination is a little bit lost, walking back and forth and not really able to find a target. I don't actually think that cooldown is super effective in this matchup with how much mobility is available on the side of the Rejects. I think Mez may want to try and look to switch that talent up later on.
Yeah, and Rubcub just getting pressured down so much in this matchup. Trill was one of the first Demon Hunters to popularize that Mana Rift talent, and he definitely has a lot of experience using it, as it was a big reason why they had so much success at last year's BlizzCon. So Method Orange, this strategy is something they're very familiar with, and you can tell. Trill, he's been hunting down Rubcub, burning his mana quite quickly, landing Mana Rift after Mana Rift. Mez could be in a little bit of trouble. Spellsteal spam coming in from Jamili. I'm curious to see the build that he's playing. I'll definitely check it out very shortly to see exactly what he's running in this matchup to optimize his damage. Full polymorph secured onto Sea-Doo. Mez on 60% health. Do they have any follow-up damage? Sea-Doo should be able to top him off, or at least keep him stable without any dampening.
All right, Mez starting to stabilize, but that Mana Rift lead is really establishing itself at this point. Jamili finally taking control of Trill with a polymorph, but dispelled by Sea-Doo so that Trill can keep up the chase, keep up the hunt. Now imprisoning Rubcub, timing the Mana Rift right as that imprison ends, but Rubcub is able to jump out of it in time. Good maneuvers on Rubcub's part to avoid it as much as possible, but it's really just looking like an inevitability that he's going to be burned dry. Mez is now getting counter-pressured. Finally, the Rejects showing some signs of life here in game number 1. Cooldown overlap on the side of Method Orange. If the Rejects can stay in this fight into dampening and make a big push such as that onto Mez, perhaps they just take him out.
Yeah, Mez still low. Cyclone secured onto Sea-Doo. He has Trinket and Spirit Link. Opts to save the Trinket and barely get that Spirit Link off in the nick of time. Mez manages to survive, but the Rejects, they've been having a lot of pressure in this matchup so far. I think with Trill just hunting down Rubcub, it's going to not be looking great for Method Orange until Rubcub is completely tapped on mana, and at that point, that's when Method Orange really will secure the lead. They really have to hold on a little bit longer, but Mez left all alone. Does have the anti-magic shell opting to activate it just now. Surviving, leg sweep now onto Mez. Sea-Doo with his Aura Mastery should be able to get the casted heals off to keep himself up. Jamili just relentless with that Spellsteal spam in this matchup, removing all the Riptides, Earthen Shield Totem, and basically everything he can to prevent Sea-Doo from actually getting heals up on Mez.
All right, Mez is stabilized. Trill still on the hunt for the rest of Rubcub's mana. I'm curious to see if he can time that Mana Rift at the end of his imprison. Looks like Rubcub was once again able to wild charge away from it, avoiding another attempt at his mana bar. Good awareness on Rubcub's part to keep making these quick getaways and avoid it as much as possible, but ultimately I think that the lead has established itself. If Sea-Doo can keep Mez alive for the next 2 crowd control attempts, then all of his defensive lineup will rotate and be available. Trill sort of needs to get back to his team. He wants to keep burning down the mana, but at the same time, Darkness is the only defense really left for Mez, and Trill needs to be in range to activate that. Actually just trying to solo Rubcub here as dampening has just begun. Popping that Metamorphosis, now immediately coming back to save the crowd control of Sea-Doo. Reverse magic, and then Trill just double jumping, back flipping across the map to deny Rubcub from finding a drink. Trill all over the map, accomplishing both defense and offense perfectly.
Yep, Rubcub still trying to survive. Jamili coming back, actually looking for polymorph spams onto Trill, allowing Rubcub just a little bit of time to sit down and potentially get a drink in this matchup. And if he can reset his mana, it's going to be huge for the Rejects in this matchup. Rubcub got a little bit of a sip there from Jamili helping him out, but Trill still just chasing him down. And I like the positioning when Mez is at the pillar with Sea-Doo. It really limits the amount of damage Jamili's able to do with the Arcane Missiles and Arcane Blasts, and he can avoid a lot of that damage entirely. So in this 2v2 setup, I really don't mind Method Orange just sort of leaving Trill to do what he needs to do, and then allowing Mez and Sea-Doo to just sort of hide behind the pillar. But when Jamili comes back like this, they need to do something, because Trill, he's just locked out, not able to completely shut down Rubcub, although manages to find it there. But I feel like if that continuously happens, eventually Rubcub will be able to get some mana. So Mez and Sea-Doo, they definitely have to watch out for that.
All right, Rubcub getting run down by Method Orange here. Almost tapped on mana with dampening starting. It's going to be trouble times for Rubcub. Trill staying on target. Mez forced to split off. He can't keep up the chase. Seth Curry is doing a great job backing up Rubcub in that regard. There have been a couple of close calls for Mez throughout this fight, but now most of his defense has rotated back and is available again. So those openings are basically lost for the Rejects, and the mana lead still establishes itself here at 11% dampening. Seth Curry now peeling Trill off of his healer Rubcub, trying to snare him up and deny the reconnect, but ultimately not able to. It is probably the most difficult thing in the game to keep a Demon Hunter from attacking your healer. Jamilia is now trying to assist with polymorphs, managing to at least stall Trill for a couple of seconds, but now Mez is on target, really leading the charge, but overextending, has to trade out defensive cooldowns. Overlapped, Ring of Peace denies the darkness. He is able to get back into it. Perfect cooldown usage by Mez, immuning that knockback of the Ring of Peace and getting back into the defense, but ultimately they still Trinket and Spirit Link Totem. All three major defensive cooldowns for Method Orange blown in one attack.
That was a bit of a panic there for Method Orange. I feel like they overused just a little bit. Seth Curry now in a very vulnerable position. No Touch of Karma, no Diffuse Magic, no nothing. If they can stay on target, Rubcub completely and this is where Method Orange really has the advantage. Seth Curry gets gripped behind the pillar. If Mez and Trill can connect, I think Seth Curry ultimately goes down. He's going to have to play a beautiful game kiting in order to survive this. Ports into the midfield. Rubcub sitting down for a drink. This is such a risky maneuver from the rejects. Seth Curry could ultimately fall. He gets interrupted, still kiting away. Rubcub wasn't able to sit down for a drink at all. Seth Curry trying to buy a little bit more time with the Turbo Fist, Fists of Fury parry, still kiting away, but it is so difficult to get away from a Death Knight as well as a Demon Hunter, and Method Orange claims game number 1. Sticking to their strategy, it's just too much for the rejects to handle.
And now the big question that I really do want to ask you, Zico, because I've heard you just talk about it so much already, is going to be based off of what we see the healers doing. Do you think Sea-Doo can get away with playing Shaman throughout the entirety of this series?
Yes, I think as long as Sea-Doo doesn't run into a mirror with a Resto Druid on a large map, he's going to have a good time on that Shaman. He's going to be able to out-mana a lot of these Resto Druid teams as long as they do a good job shutting down those drinks. The real problem is if Rubcub does get one of those drinks, if Trill gets controlled enough, then that's going to be a big issue. So as long as Sea-Doo and Trill are on the same page in regards to who is shutting down some of those drinks, you can always kind of be in this situation where they're going to have the advantage. And the big reason why we criticize Shaman versus Resto Druid is because the Shaman will go out of mana, the Resto Druid will get drinks, and then in the long run the Resto Druid will win. But if you're not facing a Demon Hunter and you have a Demon Hunter, then you're going to accelerate that point even more, and before Sea-Doo's mana bar really becomes a real big threat, or a big weakness rather, you can actually just win on mana because of that mana rift that Trill brings, and they are so good at using it.
Yeah, I mean, they're the ones who really were pioneering it, right? We saw even, I guess even before maybe, I'm trying to think if they were playing Mana Rift back then when they were still, I believe they were called Method Synergy, was when it was Colo, Mez, and Trill, and they were playing Double Demon Hunter. It was up on that stage 2 years ago, something like that. I'm trying to remember if they even did start using the Mana Rift back then.
I think they did, but
yeah.
I definitely feel like it was Trill that sort of pioneered that strategy. He was one of the first people to implement it.
Trill has done that so many times, right? And then you have Mez, too, who's able to back him up. They are the team that is able to use this so well, and anytime it is strong, like it is now, I think it was Snuts who tweeted out, was like, Mana Rifts are going to be good. It's like, okay, well, Trill's probably going to be able to do it the best.
Yeah, and we saw it in that last game. It was just clinical. Just every single time he managed to land the imprisonment or the Feller option, there was just Mana Rift after Mana Rift after Mana Rift, making sure Rubcub never was able to sneak away and fully get a drink. And eventually Rubcub just goes and that makes Seth such a vulnerable target, and they were able to capitalize.
So Sid, what do you think we actually do see the rejects do here?
I mean, they could do the same composition on a bigger map, and maybe that buys enough time for Rubcub to sneak away and regenerate his mana. We've seen that as a strategy option for Restoration Druids, is on the bigger maps. That way they have more space to escape, and Polymorph is way more effective because Trill is likely to be out of range of Sea-Doo to be able to dispel it. But then when we go to the smaller maps like Hook Point and Black Rock Hold, then you lose that advantage of regenerating your mana because you don't have the distance to escape to safety and have Jamili support you with Polymorph. I mean, there was definitely pressure on their side, so on a larger map, I see it working for them, but on small maps, definitely not.
And the thing is, as much as we talk about the compositional advantage that you get from winning the first one, that is also going to come into play with the maps as well. So that is something to note. A big first win for Method Orange, and you look at the entirety of the day and what they're able to maybe get done. Method Orange right now is currently in that third place position. And if they do get deeper, maybe even get a first place, that's another 120 points, and they can maybe even pull ahead of some of those teams that are in first and second right now, the boys and the Super Frogs. But even if they can't, and they really solidify third place, that is super good for them to be able to get to LAN in general. Tolvaron Arena. Sid, there's the bigger map that you were talking about, Zico. Now, with more room to play around. Let's say comps stay the same as we do get out of our draft. What can the Rejects do differently here on Tolvaron?
Well, for the Rejects, it's basically survive for a long period of time and then take down Mez. That's their win condition, so to speak. I want to see Method Orange actually lock in the Sea Drew. I think play the same comp, play the Windwalker DK, but with a Resto Druid. You're going to have a lot of space to work with. You're going to be able to sneak off with some of those drinks yourselves. You're going to have the Mana Rift as well on your side, so you're going to be able to win on that mana advantage. So I think... that's what they should do. I'm not sure if that's what they will do. Sidu, of course, on the Resto Shaman is just super comfortable. What do you have to say here, Van?
I wasn't going to say anything.
Oh, he was just looking at the monitor right now. He saw how good that jacket looks on him. That was what he was.
I was just paying attention to what you were saying.
No, it just looked like you wanted to chime in on something.
Nope.
Okay.
You definitely read that wrong.
Would be the first time. Actually.
Yeah, that's true.
Super Tease, what do you want to say?
What do I want to say?
Yeah, you look.
I want to say that I think you're all fantastic.
Thanks. But we have to talk about the game. That's our job.
All right, let's talk about the game then. These games are fantastic.
I actually want to say something about Jamili. He is so far... Okay, we're not going to see Sidu on the Resto Druid. Not a huge surprise there. He's going with comfort for sure here. But I was going to say about Jamili, he is the first mage so far out of every single arcane mage I've seen who picked the right trinkets. He is playing the Insignia trinket, which is you get on equip versatility, and you have that extra stat proc, and then he's comboing that with the Maledict trinket. I like that choice a lot. His gear choice, for the most part, is pretty good. He's going mainly haste. He's sacrificing even some pieces with Versa for mastery pieces that have more haste than mastery, which I don't agree with. But I would say 80% of his gear I agree with. His traits I don't agree with.
What traits was he using?
So he's running the Arcane Pummeling traits, which is your spells have a 10% chance higher of proccing the clear casting, and when you have the clear casting, your missiles kind of ramp up, each missile doing a little bit more damage than the next one, than the previous one. So that last missile tick is pretty big. The chance percentage doesn't stack, so it's only that one time you get those 10%, so you don't get 30% extra, and the damages isn't worth it in my mind. There's definitely some better options there, but he's going to be playing that Frost Mage. I'm not sure. How do we feel about the Frost Mage? Do we like the Frost Mage more?
Well, I think Jamili on the Frost Mage is going to be a lot more susceptible to damage in this matchup, so I think Mez potentially could have an easier time running him down, but I don't completely mind it just because of the way Method Orange is playing. With Trill hunting down Rubcub the entire game, I feel like Jamili should be able to keep himself alive with the amount of Novas he has, and if Seth Curry backs him up with Tiger's Lust and Ring of Peace, I think he should be able to get away and potentially put out much more significant damage if it goes down to that 2v2, 1v1 situation. So I definitely don't mind trying it.
Do you think you should be playing the Lonely Winter kind of Icelands-based build that we saw Alec run yesterday in a similar matchup?
I'm not sure. I'd have to play out this matchup a little bit to see how it exactly plays out. If Jamili is able to get off a lot of casted damage, obviously the Frostbolt build is really nice, but if he's not, then the Icelands build is really nice and can definitely accelerate the amount of damage that you can do on a Frost Mage. I feel like initially on a large map, I would say that I would play the Frostbolt build, especially with Trill being on my Resto Druid the entire game. You just want more single target damage on Mez and be more of a casted threat.
Also, it looks like Jamili was able to get that quest line done as well, even though he's not on live. So Jamili, an absolute expert mage. He is going to have the pet, though. We can see some of those talent choices right now. If you want to see all of them in detail, you can check the plugin. Method Orange going to be playing one of the compositions that they are most known for, as the Rejects switch some things up, but you still have them on their mains. It's going to be the pressure point of Rubcub right now on the Druid.
We don't get to say this very often, but Jamili is already better than Maru in this specific matchup. You see that Water Elemental? It is chucking out damage. You know what Maru didn't do yesterday? Didn't have his Water Elemental chucking out damage, and a greater region confirmed.
Well, to be fair, you can't base the entire
Nope, I just did.
on just the pet control, but he has better pet control for sure.
Yeah, Jamili right now, he actually is opting to use the Packed Ice Whiteout build, so that's just going to be empowering his Ice Lance's Packed Ice. Ice Lance damage deals an additional damage to targets that were recently hit by Frozen Orb. And then Whiteout, Ice Lance deals additional damage and also reduces the cooldown of Frozen Orb. So those two talents, those two Azerite traits synergize quite nicely, and it's going to really allow him to do more damage in this game if he's being targeted down and being limited on the amount of casts he's able to get off. He's also opting to go with Netherwind Armor, so a bit of a defensive PvP talent choice. It's going to reduce the amount he gets critically struck by 15%. And I don't like that much against a non-Windwalker Death Knight. I feel like just a Death Knight, they don't have high enough crit for it to really matter that much, and I don't think it's actually going to be slowing down too much damage.
With the strategy that Method Orange are employing, they're creating a situation where it's Trill versus Rubcub. Trill always wins that one-on-one. Then it's Jamili, Seth Curry against Mez and Sidu. Pretty sure the Resto Shaman Death Knight always wins that 2 versus 2. They have to reconvene the positioning. I was wondering if he went Frost, so they were going to target Trill and attack and snare him and prevent him from connecting to Rubcub, but that is not what they are actually trying to do. And Rubcub's just taking huge pressure, falling so far behind on every front here in game number 2. This is the best map for the Rejects. If they can't pull it off here, I don't think they can in general.
Yeah, I feel like Method Orange, they are definitely favored in this matchup. The Rejects, I don't know if this composition is necessarily going to work. They need to prevent Trill from being on Rubcub. It's not even dampening. Rubcub's already 25% mana in this matchup, and it's only going to get worse unless Rubcub can sit down for a drink. But Sidu chasing him, there's no damage on Mez right now. He's 100% HP. Jamili trying to create some pressure, but just unable to. Finally, Rubcub sneaks away, looking for a drink. Can Mez shut it down? Trill. Rubcub actually got a little bit of mana there. Things are looking a little bit better for the Rejects.
Yeah, they are managing to scramble something together. Rubcub sneaks away from the fight. Trill looking to get around the corner as soon as possible, denies any mana regeneration, confirms another mana rift, tearing even further that huge lead that's establishing itself. Mez trying to stay on target, Seth Curry trying to keep him off of Jamili's back, but as I said, it's a 2 versus 2 that I think goes in favor of Method Orange, and a 1 versus 1 that I think goes in favor of Method Orange. And unless Jamili and Seth Curry change up their targeting to try and switch that situation to be a 3 versus 3 or more favorable setup, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to. Seth Curry is marching his way over to Trill, trying to snare him up and target him down, and it is typically seen as the Demon Hunter is the target before dampening, and then deeper into dampening you make a switch to the Death Knight. So I would like to see the Rejects change their targets.
What I want to see in this matchup, I think this is the best strategy the Rejects could possibly have. With Trill being so far away, Rubcub crowd controls Trill, and then Seth Curry goes, he incapacitates Sidu, and they just do a one-shot on him with Serenity and Legs. We've tried to delete Sidu out of the game. He's playing Dwarf, so he doesn't have the reduction on those stuns, and I think if Jamili saves his Frozen Orb, his Comet Storm, his Ice Nova, a lot of instant cast damage, they can just take Sidu out quite quickly, and the only thing that could potentially save him is Trill's Darkness, and if Trill's just caught on the other side of the map, I think Sidu would be in a lot of trouble, but they're just going after Mez, and they just aren't getting anything done. Mez hasn't been scared once this entire game. Serenity gets used by Seth Curry. Once again, he is running the Tiger Eye Brew, but if Mez can use the anti-magic shell, he just completely negates all damage taken from Seth Curry and Jamili, especially while Tiger Eye Brew is active.
Yeah, it's going to be really difficult. Seth Curry trades, they overlap, and the Rejects are falling behind not only on mana, but as well as defensive cooldowns. They've created some pressure here on Mez, managing to bank Icebound Fortitude at least. That's one major objective that they've gotten out of the way to at least keep themselves alive here in game number 2. But these mana rifts are just a ticking time bomb that is eventually going to eradicate the mana of Rubcub. He's on the run, looking to get a lot of distance. He's getting back up by Seth Curry. You see that Ghoul and Sidu crossing the map. Sidu gets Ring of Feast away. Seth Curry doing anything that he can to deny the reconnect on Rubcub's drink, but wasn't able to stall it. And now Rubcub is just totally tapped. Jamili's health is starting to falter, and Method Orange have a clear lead.
Yeah, a clear lead in this matchup indeed. There's been no pressure on Method Orange in this matchup so far. Jamili falling behind, could be his first ice block of the game. Rubcub still trying to sneak away. Trill gets Frost Nova'd. Nicely done there by the Rejects. They might have bought Rubcub enough time to actually get some drinks, but Mez manages to find the Death and Decay, that orange circle on the ground, that red circle on the ground. It's an area of effect spell Mez can use, and it's really good at shutting down these drinks. All 3 members of Method Orange have just been on point, very focused on making sure Rubcub can never drink.
Yeah, most certainly is the case, and that needs to be their objective. If Rubcub at any point, such as the one right now, can get away, drop combat and regenerate mana. Mez's Ghoul is not able to get over there fast enough. Now counter pressure as well towards Mez. How much did you get, Rubcub? Well, I guess he didn't get any. That's a little bit unfortunate. Now he's dashing across the map again, trying to escape Trill and sit down. All he wants to do is get one sip, one drink, but he just can't get one drink here. Mez finally still getting pressured. Maybe Jamili and Seth Curry can carry the team in that 2-on-2 against Mez and Sidhu. Trill now pulls back to assist. He has Darkness ready and waiting to make the trade if necessary to survive. But while he pulls back to assist the team, Rubcub tries to sneak away. He can't, though. Jamili's getting pressured. He's forced into the ice block, and just more and more it is the case that Method Orange have this game under control.
Yeah, Jamili, no ice blocks left. Caught in the stun, activates the Temporal Shield. Can't see to remove it. Doesn't look like he's going for the purges just yet. Now Rubcub still completely out of mana. Doesn't have much left to keep Jamili alive. And Trill now changes his focus onto Jamili. He knows Rubcub completely tapped on mana. There is just no way he can keep Jamili up. Jamili gets gripped over to Mez, and it is just a matter of time before he falls. And ultimately, Ironbark might keep him alive, potentially, but Rubcub just with no mana left. There's no way he can heal Jamili up. And Method Orange, once again, perfect execution of their strategy. The Rejects really didn't look like they had much of a chance.
Yeah, that was pretty much exactly what I was going to ask Zico. I was going to say, was there any point in this game where it looked like the Rejects were going to be able to win?
Not really. I mean, I don't really see what the win condition is for them. They can't really win by crowd controlling Sidhu and trying to take somebody down, because there's reverse magic, there's a lot of self-healing as well onto this Demon Hunter and this Death Knight, so that's not going to be your win condition. Then you're not going to win on mana, which is typically the win condition when you play Frost Druid Mage, because Trill is just doing such a good job mana burning Rubcub on cooldown and just shutting down every single drink. You can see that Earth Elemental there at the end of this one as well, that Sidhu had onto Rubcub pretty much the majority of this game. Just all of these small things that Trill and Sidhu are doing make sure that Rubcub can never actually get money. You can see it right there at the far end of your screen, punching away on Rubcub, making sure that he is in combat and not able to sneak away. And Trill, of course, has that kind of wall hack that Demon Hunters have, where they can see stealth units, and he can stop him as well, even if he does get away. So it's just Method Orange are playing to their win condition, and I just don't see any openings for the Rejects.
And I think that kind of is the thing with the Rejects. We know that they can take down the top teams. We see them do it. They did it to even get here. They took down the boys 3-1. Maybe they're out-comped. They need to actually take a few seconds here to figure out what their strategy is going to be. When we return, we're going to find out if the Rejects can figure out a plan.
Mana burning Rubcub, that's the thing they struggle with the most, and it just doesn't seem like they have a consistent answer yet.
Well, we have seen Method Orange not only see that weakness, but truly reveal it. Trill on that Demon Hunter trying to close this one out.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, match point in the upper bracket. Method Orange are asserting dominance here as the Rejects desperately try to pull something together, but it does not seem to be like they have an answer for this tyrannical composition that Method Orange have brought to the competition. With this Mana Rift strategy, Trill completely burns Rubcub out of the match. Mez keeps up the onslaught and pressure in 2 places, and then Sidhu, of course, keeping everybody alive and maintaining a significant mana lead throughout. It's up to the Rejects to try and find opportunity here. They're on match point. If they lose this, they go down to the lower bracket, and that is a very deadly lower bracket. Rubcub already getting pressured, and Method Orange are playing a lot more aggressive here in game 3 as they've got such a massive lead. I can't blame them.
Yeah, they already got Touch of Karma as well, and we see Method Orange, they like to switch it up. Do they go for the all-in? Are they playing a more conservative strategy? In this match, they are going all in onto Rubcub. How is he going to survive? He has no trinket. Safeguard gets shredded through. No Ironbark, no Barkskin. His team has to keep him alive. He dashes behind the pillar. Regrowth spam comes in, but Trill with the hero stun coming out of nowhere. Rubcub's still barely holding on, but Mez can't reconnect and interrupt onto Rubcub, but Bash immediately onto Trill will keep him alive.
Now imprisoned at low health. Mez, I would have liked to see Mez at least marching his way over here. I know it's not that easy to move on a Death Knight, but I guess he's just fine and happy hitting Seth Curry on the opposite side of the map. and he is building at least decent pressure, but Icebound Fortitude was traded, so maybe the defense starting to crack here for Method Orange. They're playing a lot more assertive here, and they've got room to breathe. They can just try and strangle this out right away if they want to, because even if they lose this, they still got 2 maps, and they can pick the smallest ones in the pool, and RubCub can't drink on the biggest map. He's not drinking on the smallest one, so it's unsurprising to me to see Method Orange try and play more aggressive here on Ashamain Fall and just close it out.
Yeah, definitely, and Jamili on the Arcane Mage has been able to do a little bit more in this matchup. On the Frost Mage, you really struggled to find pressure in that last game, so you really can't blame him. Wants the extra mobility. He actually is opting into Ring of Frost this game instead of Chrono Shift, so potentially wants to drop out the Ring of Frost to allow RubCub to escape Trill a little bit longer and when they cross the map, but getting a full Ring of Frost onto Sea-Doo. Now RubCub once again trying to escape. You can see the rejects, they have good control, but Method Orange in hot pursuit. RubCub still not able to find any mana in this matchup. Is he drinking? No, just can't get out of combat. Method Orange, their synergy with this composition, with the strategy, it just is. It feels like the rejects don't have an answer.
Sea-Doo even just casting hexes, really trying to disrupt the team and just push RubCub over the edge. Ring of Peace not able to entirely protect RubCub. He is just immediately going to have to start kiting. He's traded a lot of his defense, gets gripped back into the fight, lands a double dispel on both Maledicts, though well timed on his part, but now imprisoned on his Tiger Dash, unable to escape. Mez, though, being counter pressured, and I pointed that out as a point of weakness earlier, that Icebound Fortitude isn't available. Trill, though, jumps into the fight, reverses Sea-Doo out of the polymorph, but now followed up by another. Mez potentially in trouble here, although not into dampening just yet. Deathstrike, I would assume, is only going to be impending him to top off shortly, and it is going to be the case. Mez is no longer in danger. Seth Curry is being pressured. RubCub's mana is almost completely tapped out. Mez has his Ghoul going after RubCub. Good pet management there. Actually pulling it back. RubCub was able to get a restealth. Now Death and Decay instead sniped from the right side of the pillar on Mez's part. Another drink denial for Method Orange, and if RubCub cannot get a drink, he is simply going to run dry, wither up, and dissipate from the upper bracket.
Yep, unfortunately for RubCub in this matchup, it's just been so difficult for him. Once again, Jamili trying to back him up, allow him to escape, but there's just no counter pressure on Method Orange. The only time they get any damage rolling is with Serenity, but that just hasn't been enough to even be close to taking Mez down. Method Orange has all the defensive cooldowns. RubCub trying to survive with an Innervate, gets dispelled there by Trill. Immediately, bad luck for RubCub, unfortunately. Now he's going to be denied on all of that free healing.
All right, perfect timing there on the part of Method Orange, and I mean, at this point, if you're RubCub, seriously, what do? You've got no mana. There's a Ghoul, there's a Demon Hunter chasing you. You're just running laps around the arena. Your teammates are just inevitably dying. I mean, this is such a grim place to be in. As the rejects, they tried to take the composition from Europe and play it more effectively, but Method Orange have just the perfect strategy and great execution, trying to take this large map and play it into their own favor by playing overly aggressive. They can afford to because they're 2 up in the series anyway. RubCub just on the retreat. Can he finally get away? I'm whispering so that the enemy team doesn't hear where he is. Is he going to be able to sit down and get a drink?
Oh, Mez might stop it.
No mana.
Yep, no mana left for RubCub. Now Seth Curry getting targeted down. And this is the win condition for Method Orange. RubCub, no mana left. Seth Curry getting low. He has no heals. He has no backup from his team. There's just simply no mana to keep him alive. Ironbark deflects some of that damage incoming. Seth Curry spamming out the Vivifies. He's the only one left with the resource that can actually top himself off. RubCub gets denied on the drink once again. And this is the problem for the rejects. Basically, they need dampening to kill Mez and Trill. It's just a fact. Mez and Trill aren't going to go down before dampening, except if a miracle is somehow pulled off. And with the way Method Orange is playing it, they're just out of mana way before dampening, way before they can actually go down on these hero classes. And RubCub still trying to sneak away for drink, unfortunately not able to find it.
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately, that's the name of the game. He has no mana left to his name, and it's more of the same. Will he be able to get away? I do not think so, and I'm sure that RubCub is feeling rather lame. Is he going to be able to escape? Can he untame? We're about to find out here shortly, but Seth Curry is being pressured. Has Touch of Karma to make the trade if he needs to, and manages to pull it out just in time to stay alive. RubCub still just running on the outskirts of the map, trying to find any opportunity, but Method Orange are consistently all over him and totally denying that drink. Once again, sneaking around the corner, but Sea-Doo on one side, Trill on the other. Mana Rift more than certainly going to be confirming the end of the match here shortly, as there is no defense left for Seth Curry. Mez can just lead the charge with damage onto him, while Trill keeps up the chase to burn down the remaining mana of Rubcub. Polymorph snagged in here on a Sea-Doo. Reverse Magic is going to remove that. Rubcub making a getaway. Is anyone going to be able to get here in time? Sea-Doo, are you going to snipe it? Rubcub is going to be so mad at this point. Seth Curry now with not much left to stay alive. Rubcub just cannot catch a break in this series. He just needs a couple seconds, a 5-minute water break, but he just can't get it. And Seth Curry is ultimately going to be taken down. He's trying to Fist of Fury, the Turbo Fist, parrying the attacks to stay alive in these final seconds, but it's just an inevitability as Trill moves in and closes it out 3-0.
Another 3-0. Method Orange on an absolute tear, and it's going to be exciting when we do actually get to see on Sunday, tomorrow, what they are able to do. This is a team that is very close to getting a strong position in the entire region, but now we have set up for the rest of the day our next 2 matchups, our next 2 elimination series. How do we get to this position, Z?
Well, it's just kind of more of the same. Same thing we saw in Tolerant Arena. We saw Method Orange. They have Trill constantly chasing Rubcub, constantly landing the mana rifts. And of course, whenever Rubcub goes for these drinks, when you actually get him out of mana, you can see how entire Method Orange Trill leaves Rubcub, leaves it up to Sea-Doo instead to chase after Rubcub and keep him from drinking, while Mez and Trill turn up the heat onto Seth Curry. And of course, you want to be doing this because Sea-Doo, he doesn't really need to heal at this point. There's going to be an Arcane Mage. Free casting is not going to be doing too much pressure on his own. And then you're going to have, of course, 2 melees kind of self-sustaining themselves in that fight. And Seth Curry, he's forced to run away, of course, because he knows his healer is out of mana. He doesn't have his Touch of Karma. He just needs to be running, so he's not going to be able to counter pressure, because if he does, well, Sea-Doo can easily top up his melees, and he can't get topped up himself, so he will go down. So Seth Curry and Jamili, of course, they're just in a dire situation as soon as Rubcub goes out of that mana bar, and Method Orange, they just do a good job keeping that chokehold onto Rubcub, making sure that he doesn't get away.
Rejects had not lost a series until this one, so they're going to be dropping down now. They had that one lifeline, but they will be going up against the boys. That's